Amahle Jaxx, as you call her. But of course, she is born Amahle Jaxa. She's become quite a familiar face on South African TikTok, okay? Known for greeting her viewers with a simple, how's it? That signals it's time to catch up on the news, of course. Instead of dance trends or skits, as it were, Jaxx delivers daily current affairs with clarity, with a lot of charm, a lot of charisma, turning headlines into real-life conversations. So for a younger audience who often shy away from traditional news platforms, her short, articulate videos make staying informed feel easy and just a natural part of life, you know? She's not complicating it for you. She was born in the Eastern Cape in South Africa, and we are very excited to be catching up with her this afternoon so we can just have a conversation outside of TikTok here on Channel Africa. Hello, Jaxx. Welcome to Channel Africa. Thank you so much for joining us.
How's it, everyone? Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
How's it? Let's talk about you for a second. Okay, this is about you. So growing up at Omani, talk to us about how that perhaps shaped your outlook on life in general and how you interact with people.
Well, I grew up, it's a very small town. It's literally what I would consider a one-horse town. But I grew up in two worlds, essentially. So I grew up in Queenstown, where we would have lights, electricity, running water. And then on the weekend, I would spend time with my grandparents practically every weekend from like age 3 or whatever. And I think the way that has informed me, it's allowed me to relate to people from all kinds of, all walks of life, all different classes, different races as well, being in Queenstown and being in that era of, the Rainbow Nation and being one of the few Black children in the school, which was pretty much, white, kind of informed me and I think made me flexible and very much understanding to different kinds of South Africans. But also kept me grounded, growing up in a small town, you learn to appreciate the small things.
Jaxx, you wear quite a few hats, right? You're not just a content creator keeping us in the loop with what's happening around the world. You are also the head of events at Until, co-owner of a Cuban-themed restaurant. Which hat do you enjoy wearing the most right now?
I think it's the content creation because I always, entrepreneurship kind of happened to me. I always say that in the sense that I just happened to be at the right place at the right time with the right people and we started a business, But I think I lean more towards what I'm doing now, which is, just current affairs, politics, that kind of engagement, because that's actually what I studied in varsity. I did a BA in politics, philosophy, and economics. So that's what I enjoy more. Entrepreneurship is tough. That one is a tough one.
Say it louder for the people at the back, please.
The thing. It'll test you. People must stay in corporate where the salaries are, are guaranteed. You never know with entrepreneurship. 1 month you're up, the next month you're not. So that was quite a tough journey for us. But I really do appreciate that part of my life because it taught me so much. And once again, exposed me to a variety of different people in South Africa and doing, meeting people through entertainment. They're more relaxed and, you kind of get the real sense of what being a South African is like.
I love that you are so honest, in terms of the entrepreneurship side of you. But I think everyone should try it because I think it's actually a great gift to oneself. It's one of the greatest self-development courses you could gift yourself, without a doubt. Okay, so this is us in conversation with the one and only Amahle Jaxx, Jaxa, joining us on the line. And we're really just talking about her being on TikTok, using the platform so fruitfully to educate people, to inform people, and also just really living her life online, but in a good way. Social media can be such a toxic place, So if one is able to use it to really make humanity, give hope to humanity, make the world a better place, listen, we're here for it. Let's take a quick break. We're back with Jaxx just after this.
Ukatili wa kijinsia unaharibu maisha na kutenga jamii. Hutokea nyumbani, shuleni, kazini na mara nyingi kwa ukimya. Lakini hauwezi kuendelea. Ukiona, ongea. Ikiwa unaumia, funguka, kwa sababu kutofanya lolote sio chaguo. Sikiliza vituo vyote 19 vya redio kuanzia Jumatano ya tarehe 23 Julai kwenye mijadala, ushauri, tamthilia, maonyesho ya elimu na mahojiano na wataalamu, manusura, watunga sheria na nchi nzima iliyoathirika na ukatili wa kijinsia kwenye vituo vyako pendwa vya redio. Piga simu 0800 428 428 ili kuripoti unyanyasaji au kupata msaada. GBV, ikomeshwe na wewe. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwenu na shirika la SABC.
The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
There I am. Welcome back. Welcome back to The Upside, and thank you so much for tuning in as we converse with Amahle, Jaxa, a familiar face when we look at TikTok for South Africans, but I think for all African people who really want to be informed but also entertained. That's what this wonderful woman has been doing for some time. Amahle, let's talk about TikTok, okay? TikTok is one of the greatest gifts, if I could put it that way. There are a lot of people that are using it to heal others, to help others, to inform others, which is the space that you play in. Talk to us about how you actually prepare for your educational TikTok videos, because you make it look so easy, but there must be some methodology to your preparation.
Yes, I think it starts every morning. When I'm eating breakfast, I'm watching the news. I just want to gather what's happening in the world. I read the paper on Sundays as well. And then if there's something that's piqued my interest or something that people are talking about online, whether that's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, or whatever, and if it's interesting to me, I think I have to stress that I cannot cover everything. I'm not a journalist or a media company. I then start researching it. So I think it starts from obviously the Googles, the YouTube, any interviews I can find. And then I do like to have some fact base behind it. So I'll look for journal articles as well. So if we're, for example, speaking about, I don't know, unemployment, and then I'll go and try and find from Stats SA, how unemployment trends have been since 2000 or whatever the case may be. And I think it then becomes this madness of me now trying to, I read a lot of novels. So I think I always like to tell a story, like how did it start? Or what is the history of something? And then into like the crux of it. And then sometimes I'll give my opinion on it. Sometimes I allow people to make their own opinions. So yeah, it's quite rigorous. And that's why I think I'm not an everyday kind of person on TikTok. I'm also not a breaking news kind of person because I really love context. So if there's a story, for example, I remember everyone was, with this whole General Mkhwanazi situation, everybody was like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And I was like, I need to hear what other people are saying as well. Because I think that's what makes it well-rounded. What are the other political parties saying? What are political analysts saying? What are people on radio saying? If I'm listening to different channels on when I'm driving. So it takes quite a while. I think it's about 3-4 hours if it's a easy story, but a full day if it's not.
The work that goes behind these content pieces, I don't think people get to see it. I mean, at the end of the day, they get to see a 1 or 2 minute long video on TikTok, but the hours that go into preparing, editing it, incredible work that you're doing. Jax, talk to us about the difference between us consuming traditional news and media to what TikTok and social media has now allowed us to consume the content. Are people gravitating more to seeing a familiar face, someone that they can relate to, tell a story about what's happening in the world around us, as opposed to a journalist giving us all the hard facts?
Well, I think one insight that I have about that is that, traditional media tends to use a lot of jargon, a lot of complex ways to explain things, and I think that's very isolating. And I can only speak from a South African perspective where, you know, a lot of people just can kind of get overwhelmed. You know, something as simple as like the levels of governance or the branches of governance, what's the legislature, the judiciary, you know? And so I find that this new generation, you know, kind of just wants it to be more palatable in ways that they kind of understand. But it actually doesn't actually stop with the new generation. I found that a lot of the people that are consuming my content are also quite the older generation who I think are experiencing fatigue. You know, my mom sends me messages from all her friends who are like, oh, thank goodness someone was able to explain this in an easy way, because I think we're all very exhausted, I think, in general, with everything that's happening in the world. It feels like ever since 2020, we're all moving at like 10,000 miles an hour. And so I just think traditional media is not necessarily failing, but kind of almost needs to readjust to a new world. And I think the reason people are gravitating towards these social media platforms is the easy access to it. You know, you don't have to have DSTV or Wi-Fi. It's all on your phone. And so those are kind of some of the insights that I've gathered. It's just that, you know, there's always going to be a place, I think, for traditional media. I don't take that away from them, but I do think there has to just be an evolution of it. And I do also think there's a little bit of distrust of traditional media. We've seen how, you know, different media platforms are used to set certain agendas. So there's also kind of that distrust, I think, from the new generation of media organizations. When you read a headline and, you know, it's if a white person has committed a crime, we don't see their face. But if a black person has committed a crime, we see their face. So there's also those kind of nuances where people are kind of distrusting, you know, traditional media. I think I was researching some stats, and I think it was an Alderman report from 2013 saying that 37% of South Africans don't trust traditional media. And so that's a very large portion of South Africans. And, you know, I could bet that most of them are under the age of 35.
Sure.
100%. People are becoming awakened, you know, and also the world of information is changing at such a rapid pace. I was watching a gentleman actually online, Amahle, talking about, you know, artificial intelligence and how that's evolving every 3.3 months. I think that is frightening. It's exciting, but it's also very frightening. So that's really going to change a whole lot of things. But just still on that note of social media, people still go on there because they want to get to know the people that they follow. You know, people follow you for your entrepreneurship. People follow you for your news, you know, acumen, as it were. But they also want to get to know you a little bit. And you had recently shared through a campaign something deeply personal around your hair journey. Talk to us about why you decided to open up, and how's that going for you right now?
I mean, this is a very old story, so I'm kind of used to it. But I think it was the first time a larger audience, you know, kind of got used to it. But I think, you know, as content creators, we kind of get into this social contract with people where we share parts of our lives. So me sharing that I had psoriasis, I think, was a bigger deal for other people than it was for me, in the sense that I've lived with this now for so long that it's so normalized to me. But I think it's also very important to share things like, you know, people think that I'm bald because it's like an edgy, cool look. And the reality is that I've got psoriasis and it's a skin disease. And to almost encourage other people, because when I shared that story, I said things like, when I first cut my hair, I made the promise to myself that I wouldn't wear wigs, I wouldn't wear caps, because I kind of had to learn to embrace myself and my beauty. And it was fresh off of COVID, so I wasn't even wearing makeup. I'm not really good at doing makeup anyway. So it was kind of like this journey of just kind of learning to love myself in all formats, in all versions of it. And for me, if that can help someone else, and when you look through those comments, obviously people aren't where I am in their journeys. There's different varieties of, you know, some people have alopecia, which means their hair will never grow back. And so it was very important for me, if we were talking about a skin story, to kind of share my skin story from when I was a child. And struggling with the fact that I didn't have long hair like my mother and my grandmother, to now having absolutely no hair. So I think it's very important to turn, social media as this platform that can be at times, as you said, be very toxic, into something that can help people at times, or, just show a different element to people, and kind of show a vulnerability as well.
Oh, Jax, we are unfortunately out of time, but very quickly, how can we support your platform, and where can we find your restaurant?
So you can follow me on all platforms, Instagram and TikTok, on Jaxx, which is JAXX_Amahle, AMAHLE. And then I have a podcast that I launched 6 weeks ago on YouTube. Yay. It's called Jax Trades. And the restaurant is The Royale, and it's on 357 Janssen Mats, Craig Hall in Johannesburg.
Love it. Jax, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for inspiring so many, and thank you for keeping us in the loop with what's happening in the world around us in a way that we can all understand. We appreciate you.
Having me, I also appreciate that.
The voice of Jaxx Amahle, aka she's a professional yapper, current affairs enthusiast, and she says don't take her too seriously on a social media platform. It's 30 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Let's get the latest in sport with Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And in this hour, in our sports update, we begin with wheelchair basketball. 14 men and 8 women's wheelchair basketball teams from all over the world will contend for a title in the first ever IWBF 3x3 World Cup that is currently underway at the Sun City Super Bowl in South Africa's Northwest Province. South African captain Shane Williams believes a strong mental game will see them through today. Williams thanked the IWBF for granting South Africa a chance to host this prestigious tournament.
We are really grateful for this opportunity, especially hosting this type of competition with world-class teams and, of course, world-class players in there. So the group is tough. It's a very tough group with some very good teams, top-tier players for that matter. But we've been putting in some work, and we have some confidence that we can play to a certain style and certain ability that we have.
On to football news. Mamelodi Sundowns midfielder Neo Maema is not entertaining discussions around his future yet, preferring to focus on the African Nations Championship CHAN preparations with Bafana Bafana for now. Coming to this camp, it was widely reported that Maema is headed to Tanzania Giants Simba Sports Club on a season-long loan deal, with suggestions that the move possibly happening at the end of the CHAN tournament.
For me, to play football beyond CHAN, I'm just focusing on CHAN now. Yeah, I would not like to comment on that. Thank you. I would not like to comment on that. I'm focusing on CHAN, making sure that we take it one day at a time.
On to rugby news. Andy Farrell makes 3 changes to the British and the Irish Lions team for series swan song. British and Irish Lions coach Andy Farrell has revealed his team aiming to complete a series sweep against the Wallabies in Sydney on Saturday. Saracens and England's Maro Itoje will lead out the side against the Wallabies and is partnered in the second row by Leinster Rugby and Ireland's James Ryan. In the front row, the Leinster and Ireland trio of Andrew Porter, Dan Sheehan and Tag Furlong is retained, with Furlong set to start his 9th consecutive test match for the Lions. Some more rugby news. On to women now. The Springbok women face the Black Ferns 15 on Saturday in Cape Town in South Africa's Western Cape Province. The final warm-up before the Rugby World Cup. Ayanda Malinga, Daniel Lochner and Lindelo Agwala return to the squad, while coach Veid de Bruin tests new combinations, including Nadine Roos at scrum half and a fresh midfield pairing of Apiwe Ngwevu and Zintle Mpupa. Captain Babalwa Lacha leads the side with kickoff time at 3 p.m. Central African time at Athlone Stadium. And we wrap up with tennis news now. Top seed Alexander Zverev switched into survival mode to claim a milestone 500th ATP match win, fighting back to beat Matteo Arnaldi 6-7, 5-7 tie-breaker, 6-3 and 6-2 at the Toronto Masters. Germany's Zverev broke twice in the deciding set to reach the fourth round of the US Open tune-up, converting his second match point to back up his defeat of the Italian earlier this year in Acapulco. Unable to gain the upper hand in the 82nd minute first set, Zverev said his game improved as the minutes dragged on against 2024 Canadian semi-finalist Arnaldi. Now Zverev will next face Francisco Cerundolo, a 6-3, 6-4 winner over fellow Argentine Thomas Echeverry. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So when you think of African music, you think of Kwasa Kwasa, high life music from West Africa, Afrobeat from West Africa, of gospel music or faith music or spiritual music. But when we think of reggae music, we go to the Caribbean, and if it's Africa, we only think about Lucky Dube. Well, I'm here to introduce you to some reggae music from Africa. Salif Keita with Dakan Fair from Mali. And I must say, this one was a real shock for me because I never had imagined Salif Keita on a reggae beat. But listening to him, it just proved to me how versatile he is as an artist because you'd be expecting him to be on that vibe of West Africa, of ballads. But he really proved that he is very versatile, and I was pleasantly surprised.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
36 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Let's say good afternoon and welcome to the Upside to Thabiso Lehoko, the man with the golden voice, to give us the business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Tebogo, and good afternoon. Let me start with some breaking news. I see it here on the screen on television. FlySafe Air pilot strike has